Bonsoir, everyone. Lovely to see you all tonight. And I believe tonight we have our land acknowledgement being done by George Nickel.
The West Hollywood City Council acknowledges that the land on which we gather, and that is currently known as the City of West Hollywood, is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrieleño Tongva and the Gabrieleño Kizh peoples.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nickel. I am calling this meeting to order at 6:00 p.m. We have a fifth grader, Brandon McCullough, to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Come on up, Brandon.
Stand up, right hand to your heart, and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Great job, Brandon. City Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Councilmember Heilman.
Here.
Councilmember Meister.
Here.
Councilmember Shine.
Here.
Vice Mayor Byers.
Present.
Mayor Erickson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, are there any changes for staff for the agenda?
Yes, Mayor. Staff is requesting that item 3A be tabled to the May 6th. Sorry, staff isn't requesting. The applicant is requesting, and that's the request to permit a new two-sided, internally lit, full-motion digital billboard at 8501 Sunset Boulevard in conjunction with new interior and exterior building and site improvements. So that is being requested to be continued to May 6th.
Sounds good. Do my colleagues have any objections to that, or we're good at tabling? Sounds good. Do my colleagues have any other changes to the agenda? Councilmember Heilman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm wondering if we could move 6A, 6B, 6C, 6D, and 6F to consent.
These are fine by me.
What is 6D is?
The development of the sustainable and climate-friendly food choices for city-produced events.
I'd like to talk about that one.
You want to talk about
that? The others are fine.
Okay.
Okay.
And then are there speakers on item 3B?
No, there are no speakers. We would just simply open the public hearing, indicate how it was noticed, close it, and then adopt. Because it's a legal requirement now that we do the second reading.
Okay, no problem.
Good? Everyone else? All right, sounds good. So just for the public, we are going to move 6A to consent, 6B to consent. I'll read them off. The 6A is the outreach and engagement for the 2028 Summer Olympics, the additional funding 6B for the Russian-speaking Community Heritage Month, 6C, the emission control device for commercial ovens, 6D and 6E are staying. And then did you say 6F too, Councilmember Heilman?
Yes.
And then 6F. And then we are tabling item 3A until the May 6th meeting. Sounds good. Is there a motion and a second? Sounds good.
Councilmember Shine? Oh, there we go. And the motion passes 5-0.
Thank you so much. All right. Adjournment motions. Do my colleagues have any adjournment motions? Councilmember Meister.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to adjourn our meeting tonight to Joel Quarismo, a familiar face in West Hollywood, made his mark as a television producer. His renowned public access show, My WeHo World, premiered in 2009, a joint effort with his spouse, Jan Foster, who co-hosted and co-produced the program. Sadly, Joel's passing follows closely after the unexpected loss of his husband less than a year ago. The two shared 36 years of companionship. They were married on July 7, 2013. Joel was like family to many in our West Hollywood community, and his absence leaves a void that will be deeply felt. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Meister. Councilmember Shine, do you have any?
No.
Councilmember Hammond? Vice Mayor Byers? Right, I have two. First would be Nancy Valverde, an Eastside LGBTQ activist and icon. She died at the age of 92. Nancy Valverde, a beloved Mexican-American lesbian activist and community figure on the East Side, passed away last week at the age of 92. Born in New Mexico in 1932, Valverde grew up in Lincoln Heights, the Lincoln Heights neighborhood of Los Angeles, and spent most of her life advocating for the LGBTQ community. She was affectionately known as Nancy from Eastside Clover, a nickname derived from her time living on Clover Street in Lincoln Heights. Valverde's activism began at the early age of 17 when she was arrested for violating the anti-masquerading laws because she wore clothing that at the time was traditionally worn by men. Valverde's gender nonconforming fashion helped people feel comfortable, but repeatedly landed her in the Lincoln Heights jail, and she decided to take action. She went to the local Los Angeles County Law Library to conduct research that would help her case, and she found a 1950 court ruling that determined women dressing in men's clothes wasn't a crime, and she used this in her defense. Later on, she became a barber and helped serve a safe queer space in the time of Los Angeles when laws banning same-sex relationships were running rampant on the books. She will be greatly missed by many members in the community. And last, I have George Sotsky. George Robert Bob Sotsky passed away Saturday, March 23rd, 2024. He was born in June 22nd, 1935, to Jack and Louise Sotsky. His father was a Jewish World War I refugee from Eastern Europe, and his mother was the daughter of a German truck farmers. He grew up on his grandparents' farm in Oklahoma under the shelter of his parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles. And the farm provided an exemplary life laboratory for his young and curious mind. George was the grandfather of my commissioner, Jacob Sotsky, and we're sending all of our love to him and his family. Moving right along, we have presentations. We have the first, but certainly not the least, we're going to invite back up Brandon McCullough to get a proclamation from us for doing the pledge. Next up, April is National Poetry Month. Whereas National Poetry Month is a month-long celebration of poetry and its vital place in our culture, held every April since it was inaugurated by the American Academy of American Poets in 1996. And whereas National Poetry Month reminds the public that poets have an integral role to play in our culture and that poetry matters. And whereas the city of West Hollywood has a long tradition of supporting the literary arts as demonstrated through its presentation of the WeHo Reads Literary Series, sponsorship of the Little Free Library Program, and in 2014, the creation of the West Hollywood City Poet Laureate Program. And whereas since 2014, the city has celebrated National Poetry Month by hanging street pole banners honoring living poets, with the current City Poet Laureate choosing 2 new people to honor each year. And this year's honorees are being Shonda Buchanan and Mariano Zaro. And whereas in 2023, Jen Chang was inaugurated as the 5th West Hollywood City Poet Laureate, and as part of the city's official National Poetry Month activities and WeHo Read series, she is curating a poetry spa day on April 17th, 2024. Now therefore let it be resolved that we, the members of the City Council of the City of West Hollywood, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 as National Poetry Month in the City of West Hollywood, and urge all members of the community to participate in its celebration. At this time, I would love to invite down City Poet Laureate Jen Chang up to the dais to accept this proclamation and take a photo. And this year, following this, we're in for a special treat because Jen will share a poem crafted specifically for this occasion. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you, council members, community members, and city staff. Poetry Month is so important as we can remember some of the greats that made this city a creative capital, a destination for people to celebrate creativity. So I want to invite everybody from the community and greater Los Angeles area to come visit West Hollywood. We have the Poetry Spa right by the pool deck, and we have so many great events at the library and all throughout the city. So if you haven't picked up a flyer, these are out at Plummer Park, and hope that I see more and meet more of my neighbors. This is the poem I wrote specifically in remembrance of the great people who've come before me in West Hollywood. It's titled, Recipe for Creativity, Blessed by Ghosts of the Greats. Crack open songs of paved paradise in sunset. Whisk in air of Grammy-winning music from the troubadour. Cut a sprig of rosemary, smelling history on Harper Avenue. Rub in soil from gardens of Art Deco apartments. Soak in sun by the gates of Morrison's historic home. Sprout new seeds from a neighbor's plant, poolside. Sauce up corn dogs from the haunted sound studio next to Shake Shack. Chop up drafts and let the brilliant bits simmer. Flip to the acknowledgments of bestsellers at Book Soup. Build layers of a team like they did to boost you. Roll with friends you meet at library workshops. Wrap yourself with robes, light candles, chant under full moons to call upon the ghosts of the greats who wrote books, films, and songs to sprinkle glitter and persistence, to never let go of dreams. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jen. Last, we have a proclamation of recognition of Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Denim Day. Whereas the April is Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month, and April 24th, 2024 is officially recognized as Denim Day. Both events are intended to draw attention to the fact that sexual violence remains a serious issue in our society, and harmful attitudes about all forms of sexual violence allow these issues to persist and allow victims and survivors to be re-victimized. And whereas every 2 minutes someone in the United States is sexually assaulted, nearly 1 in 5 women in America experience a rape or attempted rape, and nearly 44% of women, or about 25% of all men, experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. Also, at least 25% of women experience sexual harassment in the workplace, and about 75% of harassment victims experience retaliation when they report it. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Denim Day were also instituted to call attention to misconceptions and misinformation about sexual violence and the problem that many in society remain disturbingly uninformed with respect to the issues of sexual harassment, assault, abuse, and rape. And whereas with proper education on the matter and comprehensive prevention projects, sexual violence and its unfair and traumatizing effects are preventable. And whereas Denim Day is an internationally recognized day held during Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month to raise awareness about rape and sexual assault founded by the nonprofit organization Peace Over Violence following a 1999 court ruling in Italy in which a rape conviction case was overturned with the argument that because the victim had been wearing tight jeans at the time of the assault, she must have been expressing consent. And whereas Denim Day is the longest running sexual violence prevention and education campaign in history and asks community members, elected officials, businesses, and students to make a social statement in their fashion by wearing jeans on this day and as a visible means of protest against the misconceptions that surround sexual violence. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the City Council of the City of West Hollywood hereby proclaims the month of April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month and designates April 24th, 2024 as Denim Day in the City of West Hollywood and urges everyone to wear jeans on that day to help communicate the message that there is no excuse and never an invitation to rape. And I would like to invite members of the City of West Hollywood's Women's Advisory Board to accept the proclamation and take a photo with myself and my colleagues.
All right, hello. As mentioned, we're from the Women's Advisory Board. My name is Shanara Good, and have a few statistics on sexual violence. So according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, nearly 1 in 5 women in America experiences a rape or attempted rape, and nearly 44% of women, and about 25% of all men experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. Within the LGBTQ community, approximately 1 in 8 lesbian women and nearly half of bisexual women have been raped in their lifetime. 4 in 10 men and nearly half of bisexual men have experienced sexual violence other than rape in their lifetime. In addition, having multiple disabilities can increase a person's risk of rape and sexual assault. Disabled women are twice as likely to suffer assault and rape, and children with mental health or intellectual disabilities are almost 5 times more likely to experience sexual abuse. According to a 2015 U.S. Trans survey conducted by the National Center for Transgender Equality, approximately 47% of transgender people are sexually assaulted in their lifetime.
So we bring this up because maybe it might not happen to someone here, but it will most likely happen to someone you know. And so we have a few resources that are on the WehoTV.org website. They are the Los Angeles County Rape and Battering Hotline run by Peace Over Violence. They're 24 hours. The Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network organizes the National Sexual Assault Telephone Hotline that's also available 24 hours. And the one that we work with a lot is the UCLA Rape Treatment Center. It's at UCLA. But so what, if in the unfortunate event something happens to you or someone you know, first of all, do not feel shame, whether you're drunk or on drugs, it's still not it's not your fault. So with that said, don't isolate yourself, don't feel guilty, and don't just try and forget about it. If you have a lapse of memory or wake up in a strange place and you might feel you might have been a victim of sexual assault, contact local law enforcement agency immediately. Save your clothes, do not shower or brush your teeth, and seek that medical attention. The UCLA Rape Treatment Center does provide transportation for you, so give them a call. And if you're uncomfortable, maybe someone could call for you, but there are resources, and just speak up and get the help that you deserve. They also have psychologists to help as well. Thank you, I'm out of time.
Thank you so much, Women's Advisory Board, and congratulations on a very successful Women's History Month, and welcome Will to the meeting. I see Melanie's holding him right now. All right, we're going to move on to public comment. The City Council values your comments. However, pursuant to the Brown Act, the Council cannot take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. The public comment period is limited to 20 minutes with 2 minutes allotted for each speaker. This public comment period is to address City Council on consent calendar items, other agenda items, if the member of the public cannot be present at the time the item is considered, or items of general interest within the jurisdiction of the City Council. Another period is also reserved for general comment later in the meeting for those that could not be heard at this time. Public hearing testimony will only be taken at the time of the hearing. If you go over your 2 minutes and do not respond to the City Clerk's notification that your time has expired, your microphone will be muted. If you signed up to speak on both consent calendar items and general public comment as well as an item that was moved to the consent calendar, you may take this public comment period to speak on the consent calendar items. You may also sign up to speak during the second public comment period for your general public comment. Lastly, speakers should not bring any items to the podium other than a prepared written statement and/or writing materials. Madam City Clerk, how many speakers do we have tonight?
We have 12 speakers, Mayor.
Are there any in Zoom?
No, we have no one in Zoom tonight.
Wonderful. So George Nickel to be followed by Alan Strasberg.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I was pleased to see 6D come before council because I've spoken here before about the impact, the very great impact that your personal choice to become a vegan can make on the environment. And I think it's also good because there are a lot of really great vegan restaurants here in West Hollywood. If you're going to do this, I would encourage you to reach out to them, use local resources. One thing that I did notice is that somebody wrote in and they used a word that I think was very good. They wrote the word nudged. People don't like to be told what to do. I never like when government tells people, even if it's a really good idea, people will find that it's best for them if they have the opportunity, which this would seem to provide, to try a plant-based or a vegan alternative. They will see that it's delicious, that it makes them feel good, and as long as there are still options, as much as I hate to say that for people who choose not to, because I like people to have choice. So anyway, I just wanted to say that as somebody who will be, as of December this year, 31 years animal-free. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nickel. Alan Strasberg, to be followed by Shamie Kramer.
Mayor, I think I made a mistake. Did 6E stay
No.
on the agenda? 6E
Yeah,
was
it's on the
moved.
agenda.
6E is on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so 6D was moved. I heard.
Yeah, that's okay.
So Alan and Shamie will speak on during when
Sure.
6A is, or I can't talk tonight, guys.
No, other
6
way around, sorry. 6D. No, 6D. You're right.
Stayed on the agenda,
Yes.
correct? 6E was moved to consent.
No.
Okay, it was,
no,
it was opposite.
Both of them.
So D
Stayed.
and E stayed
Yeah.
on the agenda? Okay, so I'm really off base tonight, guys.
It's okay.
So Eric Smith is our next speaker for 6C.
Sounds good. Eric, come on up.
Okay, I submitted pictures to the city clerk after noon today to show how insane the smoke is coming from next door to me. They said you would get the pictures probably tomorrow. I see and smell wood smoke when I'm home, at work, walking down the street. This isn't just the restaurant next door to where I live, and the problem is bigger than just myself and current generations. You'd have to light 27,333 cigarettes to emit as much benzopyrene as burning only 2.2 pounds of wood. Benzopyrene can cause a slew of ailments, including cancer. EPA estimates suggest that a single fireplace operating for 1 hour and burning 10 pounds of wood generates 4,300 times more carcinogenic polyaromatic hydrocarbons than 30 cigarettes. Fine particle pollution has been strongly linked with increased illness and higher death rates, even at relatively low levels. In Southern California, wood burning emits approximately 4 times the amount of fine particle pollution as all the region's power plants combined. Wood burning creates dioxin, one of the most toxic substances on Earth. Wood burning also creates intense localized pollution hotspots that are not revealed by overall community air quality measurements. EPA researchers estimate the lifetime cancer risk from wood smoke to be 12 times greater than from a similar amount of cigarette smoke. If it goes untreated or improperly cleaned, tiny particles of soot can be inhaled deep into the lungs. These toxic particles can cause breathing issues, including aggravated asthma, bronchitis, and even more respiratory illnesses that can restrict one's ability to carry out normal activities. Soot can penetrate upholstery, furniture, appliances, and countertops. If left untreated for a few days, it can corrode metals, ruin floorings, and damage walls beyond repair. Wood smoke so close to homes is anxiety-inducing and impossible to ignore. Banning cigarette smokes on our streets and common areas doesn't make sense when there's wood smoke spewing out of businesses. I have to plan my days according to when the business is burning, which is every waking hour of the day if they choose. Only 3% of land has the same climate as LA, and I have to keep myself shut on most beautiful days. Businesses shouldn't be so detrimental to citizens' quality of life. Homes should be a sanctuary for oneself to feel relaxed and secure, not anxious about if and when they'll be poisoned for leaving windows open. None of you would allow this to occur next to where you live. If businesses wanted to poison the air and neighbors with wood smoke, it needs to come at a price for the businesses and not just citizens. There are no burn days for residents, but businesses are allowed to run wild and burn even when no one orders that menu item for the day. Even eating wood-fired food is unhealthy. There are healthy alternative ways to cook food, which doesn't affect taste or people's health and quality of life. Spend hundreds of dollars trying to
I'm
direct
sorry.
the smoke away from my place.
The timer didn't go off, but you're 2 minutes up.
I have more, but thank you.
Thank you.
That was a lot already, Eric, but we're looking forward to reading all that really helpful information. Thank you. And great job doing that in 2 minutes. Ricky Pettigrew, to be followed by Mikey Friedman.
Hello. We have no agency over the wood smoke that fumes our air every day. You might liken the sense of urgency to an individual smoking a cigarette. The problem with this is that businesses are continuously burning without limitation. The smoke that is engulfing our environment is corroding away our atmosphere, bodies, and minds. The tyranny that these businesses actively participate in is mostly invisible to the public eye, but is all too real. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it isn't affecting you and the ones you love. The Black Plague was horrific and had European society in shambles. Don't let wood smoke be a modern plague. There are many alternatives to burning wood. It would greatly enhance everyone's quality of life if businesses weren't allowed to burn wood.
Thank you so much, Ricky. Mikey Friedman, to be followed by Joseph Green.
Mikey Friedman. West Hollywood 44-year disabled resident. Today is April 1st. So I want to wish everybody here an April 1st happy April Fool's Day. 2 weeks ago, I was told that the mayor thought I had a nice voice. So John, this is for you. John loves Paris in the springtime. John loves Paris in the fall. John loves Paris in the winter when it drizzles. John loves Paris in the summer when it sizzles. John loves Paris every moment of the year. John loves Paris. Why, oh why does John love Paris? Another free bees there. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Mikey. Let's get you to the recording studio. Joseph Green to be followed by Dylan Hoyser and then Steve Martin. Sorry, my thing's being weird. Sorry.
Good evening, City Council. Joe Green, West Hollywood resident. I'm also a DAB member, and I'll be the liaison to the transgender and the LGBTQ plus boards. I'm also co-chair of the LA County Commission on HIV, and I've had the opportunity to reach out to the transgender and the LGBTQ plus commissions regarding our HIV and STI prevention standard, which has been approved by both our Standards and Best Practices Committee as well as our Executive Committee. So on April 11th, that will be going before the full commission to be approved. Now that's HIV and STI prevention standards and care standards for all of LA County. So anyone that is a payer of last resort, for example, any of the clinics like HF, they have to follow those standards. We only had 2 public comments, which is why I reached out to the transgender board and the LGBTQ plus board to say we need more public comments. So it's not too late. So I encourage anyone to take that opportunity. But I also wanted to take a moment and thank Melissa for her city orientation. I had that. That was really good. And to thank Derek Murray, who sits on our commission. We have 46 members on the commission, doctors, physicians, people living with HIV like myself. And we are attempting to make a change, not only regarding HIV, but STIs. Our next meeting, as I mentioned, will be April 11th, and we will be focusing on housing. It'll be our 3rd month of listening to the community. We're having a housing panel. We'll be having multiple agencies there. And we know that it's an uphill battle, and we hope that more people get involved. So thank you for your time, and have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you so much. Dylan Hoyser to be followed by Steve Martin.
Good evening, City Council. Dylan Hoyser from Los Angeles. I'm here tonight to express concern about a serious issue. Some of you may know Southern California hosts the largest Israeli community outside of Israel, and many of my organization's members reside in the greater LA area, including right here in West Hollywood. Recently, a member of mine visited the City of West Hollywood's website and found Vice Mayor Byers' bio page, which links to something called Beautiful Trouble, a site that contains extremist and anti-Semitic content, including this post, which says, Israel serving genocide since 1948. Why does Chelsea have Beautiful Trouble mentioned on the city's official website? This reference should be removed from the Vice Mayor's bio page immediately to prevent further spread. And Mayor, this is your city. This is your Vice Mayor. Do you support or condemn Vice Mayor Byers' activities? All council members should condemn this, but especially from you, Mayor. The buck stops with you. Furthermore, just a few weeks ago, Supervisor Horvath stood right here praising Vice Mayor Byers as, quote, exactly what our community needs. I couldn't disagree with Supervisor Horvath more, and I look forward to clarification from her office. In my opinion, Vice Mayor Byers is nothing more than a political suicide bomber. Let's see which of her colleagues are smart enough to get out of the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hoyser. Steve Martin, to be followed by Michael Nuttall.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Steve Martin, West Hollywood. I have to say that I was disappointed as an East Side resident about the vote last week to remove the 22 parking spaces on Gardner. I don't think that that was really a great example of West Hollywood democracy in action. First of all, I have friends on Gardner. Nobody knew this was up for a vote. No one I talked to even knew that the 22 parking space removal was even under discussion. So that's the first thing. I mean, we really need to look at the level of outreach that staff and consultants are doing because it seems to be woefully inadequate. But it also is clear that the consultant or staff has not gone out to the site at night because you would then see that we're probably losing over 30 parking spaces because of the angled parking, people who have driveways are able to park tandemly actually out into the street. A friend of mine, Allegra Allison, manages a building there, and all of the driveway is taken up by tandem parking, and at least one of the tenants parks in the street and has never been cited by parking enforcement, and frankly, it makes sense. But there's a lot more at stake here than the 22 parking spaces. You know, it's very frustrating. We incorporated 40 years ago to give the residents the power to decide their own destiny based on what is best for the community that we know. And people wanted to have a voice. And we elected a city council to give the community the voice, not to take the voice away. And I just felt that the comments about the lack of outreach that were made by some of the council members were disrespectful to the community, childish, and really didn't put the council's best foot forward. And I know you can do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Michael Nuttall, to be followed by our last speaker, David Stuckey.
First, thank you to City Council for the job that you do. I know it's not an easy job, and I thank you for making this city the progressive city that it is, so I thank all of you for that. On to my complaining now. On Thanksgiving Day 2022, I went to the police station for help on a few serious issues, and the officer that came out to help said that they were busy and that he'd be with me shortly. No one was in the waiting room except me. People came in and they helped them with no problem and kept on telling me they'd be with me. I waited for 5.5 hours, and no one helped me, and the last officer that came out, which was the first one that came out to help me, said, "Are you still here?" He said, "Oh, I have a dog just like yours," because my dog was with me. I then got up and left. On a later date, I went back to the sheriff's station for a more serious issue. I was in a situation where someone had child pornography. I reported the individuals to the West Hollywood Police Sheriffs for having it. I gave the location, the name of the person who owned the residence, the phone number of the person, the type of the content was played, the vast amount of content that was there, the computer it was played on, the video player that was used. I was told I didn't have enough information and they really couldn't do anything, but they took the information down. 3 officers were there and the person working the desk. I then left. I ask you to not let this happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, we have Danny who's going to raise his hand in the back. If you could go, Danny Rivas. Hi, Danny. Hey, nice to see you. But Danny Rivas in the back, we want to make sure you connect with him so we could talk about follow-up on the 2 issues you just brought up. So he's all the way in the back if you want to go talk later. David Stuckey, to be followed by Danny Hang.
Hello, good evening. My name is David Stuckey, and I am a proud member of Unite Here Local 11 and a front desk agent here in West Hollywood at the One Hotel. And I just wanted to give the City Council an update. We have workers from 34 hotels across the city, including 2 here in West Hollywood, that have voted resoundingly to approve and ratify our new contract that we have been on strike for since last July. And I want to personally thank Councilmember Shine, Councilmember Erickson, or Mayor Erickson, and Vice President Byers for coming out and really cheering on the workers and standing with us on the picket lines. As a new resident to West Hollywood, it meant a lot to know that we had your support, especially seeing how you're the ones that are making the decisions that affect our community. Like I mentioned, we've been out on the picket line since last July, but we did win our 5 pillars. Some of the life-changing items we won include an immediate $5 per hour raise to keep our workers housed and fed. That takes effect today. That's not a joke. We also won greater contributions to our pensions so our workers can retire with dignity after years of service in this industry. We won language to protect workers from being overloaded with work. We will return to pre-pandemic level staffing, 1 job for 1 worker. We won increased contributions to cover the rising healthcare costs so our workers will continue to have access to our life-saving healthcare plans. This is something you helped fight for, and the workers won. We're grateful for you.
Thank you so much, David, and congratulations to you all. Danny Hang to be followed by our last speaker, Nick Roybal.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Danny Hang, resident of West Hollywood. I just wanted to share that I went to a very fantastic coffee with the mayor on Saturday at our local business Fangirl Cafe. It was packed with city staff, a lot of community members, and board and commission members, and the business was thriving. I've been to that location multiple times, and I see a lot of foot traffic, and that is a sign that the economy is thriving. And the only way that the economy is thriving is when the people that make our economy run get a fair and equitable wage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danny. Nick Roybal.
First, thank you, Melissa. Hi, Mayor. Hi, Vice Mayor. Hi, Council. Quickly, I know Mayor Erickson, Vice Mayor Byers, you're not anti-Semitic. So there are a lot of groups that we may visit, that we may be part of, but I know you're not. So that's first. Second, this month is National Autism Acceptance Awareness Month. And as a proud uncle of 2 incredible, beautiful nephews named Titus and Timothy, and my niece Lily, children, people with autism or people on the spectrum are, I've learned, the most beautiful, prophetic, soul-filled people on this planet. And there's much I learned from my nephews and my niece, so I just wanted to uplift this month as it's for many things. Why is someone calling me right now? I apologize, man. Really? Not right now. And then also, I did want to share a poem by a Palestinian poet briefly. What is home? It is the shade of the trees on my way to school before they were uprooted. It is my grandparents' black and white wedding before the walls crumbled. It is my uncle's prayer rug where dozens of ants slept on wintry nights before it was looted and put in a museum. It is the oven my mother used to bake bread and roast chicken before a bomb reduced our houses to ashes. It is the cafe where I watched football matches and played. My child stops me. Can a 4-letter word hold all of these? Palestinian poet Musab Abu Toha, who is also a poet at Harvard University. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nick, and thank you for reminding us about National Autism Awareness Month. All right, that concludes the first round of public comment. Thank you to all of our speakers. We are going to go to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. I just have a few comments. April is also Earth Month. This month, the city will be promoting various actions community members can take to support the city in meeting our 2035 carbon neutrality goal. and share information on the climate action initiatives to elevate community awareness and city programs and policies related to sustainability. The city has launched the Green Business Certification Program. This is a free program to help businesses implement sustainability measures and may provide up to $1,500 to help offset costs. For more information, visit our website at go.weho.org/greenbusiness. And lastly, the city was recently awarded $200,000 from Metro's Transit-Oriented Communities Technical Assistance Program to help with a feasibility study to explore establishment of a transit-oriented development bonus program around the major transit stops, including the proposed K-Line station. And that concludes my comments.
Short and sweet. Thank you so much, City Manager Wilson. All right, City Clerk, may I get a fiscal impact on tonight's consent calendar, please?
Yes, Mayor, the fiscal impact on tonight's consent calendar with the addition of items 6A, 6B, 6C, and 6F is $2,060,700 in expenditures, $1,200 in revenue, and $1,240 in waived fees. And prior to the adoption of the consent calendar, item 2K is introducing an ordinance on first reading. So I'm going to read the title of that ordinance into the record. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Hollywood, amending Title 10, Chapter 10.08, Section 10.08260, subsection C of the West Hollywood Municipal Code, implementing preferential parking District 11 regulations on the 8300 block of Rosewood Avenue between Sweetser Avenue and Kings Road. And I see that there's a motion and a second to adopt the consent calendar. And the motion passes 5-0.
Thank you so much. Moving right along to 3A being tabled, we'll move to 3B. Adopt ordinance number 2407, second reading, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Hollywood, California, adding a new administrative provision to the West Hollywood Building Code section 106.5.4 to establish a process for renewal of expired building permits for development projects near completion. The public hearing is now open. Are there any disclosures from my council members? Nope.
No.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, how was this meeting? How was this evening noticed?
As required by law, Mayor.
Thank you. And I do see we have one public commenter.
We do have a speaker for this item.
Wonderful. Would you give us a brief overview real quick, and then is it okay with my colleagues to bring up the public commenter first? Great.
Thank you. So typically a second reading of an ordinance is adopted under the consent calendar. However, the law requires that anything affecting our building code must be done as a public hearing, not only on the first reading, but on the second reading. So this is a technical item. The council heard this item in full at the March 18th City Council meeting, and it does only affect a small percentage of building permits that have expired in the city.
Thank you. All right, we are going to, do any of my colleagues have questions? No, I didn't think so. We're going to now bring up members of the public. Each person has 2 minutes, and if you haven't already, please submit your speaker slip to the city clerk. The first and only speaker is Nick Roybal.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I will be brief. I just wanted to thank staff again. I reread the staff report, and if you reread staff and the writings, their concerns for vacant properties are very apt. Jenny and I live on Ogden, south of Santa Monica Boulevard, and in a 2-block stretch, there are 6 vacant properties, delayed construction, empty, and it is concern. And much of staff's warnings in the report are actually lived experience for residents on a 2-block radius in Ogden and East WeHo. So I applaud staff for this. I thank each of you for moving this forward. This is important, and thank you.
Wonderful. I will now close the public testimony, the portion of the public hearing, and we'll move to council deliberations, which will include a motion from Councilmember Heilman and a second by Councilmember Meister. All right, we'll vote. And wonderful.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. That item passes 5-0. 6A was moved to consent.
Mayor,
Yes.
before we move further, I just want to note my no vote to item 2G, the outdoor dining on public right-of-way. I missed that before we...
No worries. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Councilmember Meister. All right, no legislative business, no unfinished business. New business, 6A is on consent, 6B is on consent, 6C is on consent, 6D, development of a city policy requiring sustainable and climate-friendly food choices for city-produced events. I believe we might need a staff report, but Councilmember Meister had some questions. Do we want to take public comment first and then get into it?
Let's take public comment.
Sounds good. We'll go to public comment, and the first public commenter is Mr. Alan Strasberg, to be followed by Shamie Kramer and then Nick Roybal. Those are our 3 public commenters. Mr. Strasberg is not speaking on this item, and I'm guessing Shamie Kramer is not as well. I figured Shamie. So we have Nick Roybal, who stepped out. All right. I think we'll move right along and we'll go right to comments then. And when Nick gets back, we could take his public comment. But Councilmember Meister?
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with including plant-based food and refreshments, and I thought we already did that. So, but the idea of making it the default that people would have to opt in for other, I think that could be problematic because we have events that don't necessarily need RSVPs. And so I think having it as, part of what we usually serve and keeping an eye on how, what proportion of people are having what, I think is great. And I think maybe we should even add on to this, as someone was talking about, an education component that we could have at our events that talk about, that have, literature about plant-based events. But I think to just go cold turkey, and excuse the pun, and not include what we usually include and expect people to call in and say, hey, I want my turkey sandwich, I think would not really be fair. But I do think it's great that we want to include it and make it part of what we already serve, make sure it's there, and maybe have an education component as well.
We want to nudge them in the right direction.
Yes, nudging them in the right direction.
That was a great comment. Vice Mayor Byers.
Sure, if there's no other questions. So to your point, we are already providing a plant-based option, but as it is presented, it is not the default option. People are presented a range of options, and that's fine, but what this policy is seeking to do is put the city's resources, our taxpayer dollars, into making plant-based the default option instead of one of the several options. And so it would be an adjustment. As it was communicated tonight, food isn't necessarily why people come to our events, it's part of it, but nudging them and in alignment with the policy that the city has sought to align with our climate goals, knowing that food has such a tremendous impact on the carbon emissions. This is a specific and tangible way we as a city can ensure that our dollars are going into the specific tools that we need for investing into climate change at the local level. At every single event, we can say that we're doing something to address the climate issues we have by making sure that the majority of our options are plant-based. And so I hear you about keeping a limited sort of scope of options. The folks that I had spoken with at this policy told us to think about it like instead of there being chicken Caesar salads, it's a Caesar salad and chicken can be on the side or they're not at all. And instead we're offering a number of sandwiches that are often sandwich, chicken, salmon, and then a plant-based. So the idea here would be that the majority of those become plant-based. And I believe that people, are coming to the event not asking what's on the menu, but generally, is there food in the first place? And so a helpful nudge and reminding people these are plant-based options to help you eat in alignment with our city's goals could be a good way to do it. But I wouldn't want us to think that what we're already doing by way of giving a plant-based option is enough. This policy is hoping to sort of reorganize that table. So if there's 2/3 meat and 1/3 plant-based, we're changing it up. It's 2/3 plant-based, 1/3 meat now.
I guess what I would suggest is going into it to, again, have an education component so that people understand what's going on and can appreciate why it's happening. That's it.
So it sounds like we're all in agreement with the item, however, adding an education component and maybe perhaps not getting into the nitty-gritty logistical pieces, but maybe having a report back for us on how they would do that with city events might be helpful.
That would be helpful, because again,
Yeah.
people don't always RSVP, so the idea of opting in, to having some other options is not going to happen.
And also, I think this will be music to our city manager's ears. Less food at more meetings is probably a good thing. And I think that as someone who did city events for many years, I agree with you, Councilmember Meister, that it does cause a little bit of an issue when you don't have enough food, but then when you have a certain one amount, it's wasteful, and we don't want to be wasting food. So I think that's a very appropriate comment. But if there's, Councilmember Heineman, I'm sorry, I see you have a comment.
As I hear the item explained, it seems like we would continue as we're acting now, and that there would be non-vegetarian and non-vegan options for people, so people wouldn't have to call in advance and request things. That what we would typically serve would be a plant-based item, and there would be other options for people, but the default when we serve people who come to events would be plant-based, and I'm fine with that.
And I'll just add, when I was meeting with the organization supporting this policy and helping us city leaders think about these sort of things, one of the ways they thought about it was when you get a chocolate fudge cake or a vegan cake, the chocolate fudge cake may sound a little bit better. When we talk about a vegan cake, it doesn't necessarily sound as appealing to some people who aren't looking for that vegan option. When we think plant-based default, it reorganizes our mind, and we're not communicating that it's vegan, that it's vegetarian, it's the food that's served. And then there's a meat option that is sort of indicated as that option. So it helps us reorganize and provide some of that baseline framework for what we're thinking about. The education's built in that way too, but I appreciate you saying we can add more, so thank you.
Nick, you did sign up, I see you're back, are you okay? Sounds good, okie dokie. We have a motion, as long as there's no more discussion, are we okay? Sounds good, all right.
And this includes the educational component?
Yes. Do you want to make a motion? Sure. Sounds good. All right, a motion by Vice Mayor Byers, followed by Councilmember Heilman. Thank you, everyone. That passes 5-0. 6E. What? Appoint the mayor as the city's representative to accept the handoff of the torch for Pride House in Paris, France, and approve the international travel. And for the record, I do not like Paris in the wintertime. So there seems to be a lot of hubbubaloo about this item. I was invited, and there is a process that we all have agreed on, and I sent it to our city manager right away saying I was invited to do this. I was not aware of the Pride House item that Councilmember Heilman was doing, and if I would have put it on that one. And this is the process for which we've all agreed to, and so that's why we're doing it in public and transparent, and nothing to hide here. I mean, we could not do it in public, but I don't think people would like that. So that's how this thing came about. So that's all I wanted to just preface this on. Do my colleagues have any questions for this item, or we can go to public comment and then come back to comments? Sounds good. All right. I think we have the public comment speakership lined up this time. Alan Strasberg to be followed by Shamie Kramer.
Bonsoir, West Hollywood. Alan Strasberg, résident de West Hollywood depuis 32 ans. Cet article représente un gaspillage grotesque de l'argent public. Tout cela en soutien à la vision grandiose de John Erickson de son rôle de maire titulaire. La chronologie de la soi-disant invitation est clairement une manipulation concoctée après que ce conseil a interdit à ses membres de participer à la délégation de la Maison de la Fierté. Il s'agit d'un abus de la confiance du public que la résidence accordant aux fonctionnaires élus pour représenter leurs intérêts dans une saine gouvernance municipale. Cela devrait choquer les sens que cette petite ville cherche à envoyer, ne serait-ce qu'une seule. personne étudier les meilleures pratiques de ski nescon concept. Devons-nous croire qu'il n'existait aucun talent local capable de travailler grâce à la commodité des appels Zoom, de la créativité et du talent pour offrir un bon spectacle pour les 28 Jeux olympiques? Il faut mettre un terme à cette dépense obscène des deniers publiés dans un gâchis stupide. Faire mieux.
Would you please translate?
Hire a consultant.
Sounds, we're okay. And well, I will say that if you would like, Duolingo does well, and we are seeing it in action tonight. Shamie Kramer to be followed by Nick Roybal. That's how I use my French language, is Duolingo, and it seems to be working.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Shamie Kramer. I am a former resident and a longtime member of West Hollywood Aquatics. I founded Team Los Angeles West Hollywood in 1982 for the inaugural Gay Games. In 1983, I launched the first ever annual Queer Sports Festival. I have worked on 3 Olympic Games. I helped produce Pride House in London in 2012, and I'm also working with the Paris Pride House organizers for an event on August 28th, which will be opening day of the Paralympic Games, which is also Diversity in Sport Day, an initiative that I launched 2 years ago thanks to a proclamation by the City of West Hollywood. The invitation from Fair Foundation that the mayor speaks of requests a delegation to join them for a moment of engagement and camaraderie for one evening during the second week of the Olympic Games, which is August 4th through the 11th. Since the initial staff report indicated that the delegation should not include city council members, I find it odd that the request is now for a council member to be head of the delegation, but says nothing about the rest of the delegation. If there is one, I would like to be considered for it. I already have my paid ticket for Paris. There is no special event listed in this invitation and says nothing about a torch handoff. They don't do torch handoffs at the Pride House. The location for Pride House for LA 28 has not been established, and the next Pride House will actually be LA 26 during World Cup. Now, both of these events have already been given to Out Athlete Fund, a San Francisco-based organization. Pride House International is based in the UK. If the mayor is going to go, then I just ask that you table this motion to the next meeting. I am happy to provide the city manager with critical information so that when he goes, he can leverage the power of the city, because as it stands now, none of our local queer sports organizations are going to benefit from these 2 Pride Houses, and that is a crying shame given the history and the prominence of our queer sports community. Thank you.
Thank you, Shamie. Nick Roybal to be followed by Danny Hang.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. First, one question. Mayor Erickson, were you approached, or City Manager Wilson, was your staff ever approached by Mayor Bass, Councilmember President Krikorian, or City Council Member Yaroslavsky about the mayor or a council member going to Paris? Because they just went 3 weeks ago. If you were approached or were not, why weren't you approached about this? Because I feel that would have been the time for you to go with Mayor Bass, LA City Council President Krikorian, Yaroslavsky, who borders us. That would have gotten you out of this interesting space. Second, we're having conversations about the mechanics of government and the transparency of government. We are seeing that there are people in our community who feel we talk about how funds are allocated between council members, how each get $10,000, $50,000, how rhetoric can easily be created and spread, and misinformation and disinformation then gets created in the whirlwind, right? So how do we fix that? That's a question, I think, to the city manager's office and our comms team in terms of communication, transparency, what is going on? Why didn't the mayor go with Mayor Bass and LA City, who is actually hosting the Olympics, right? Was there a reach to you? Second, if this does pass, if you do go to Paris, I would like council members to have in this daily vlogs that the mayor would communicate with our community. So daily vlogs, videos, check-ins. Are you meeting with the mayor of Paris, who's incredible? And just bring the community in with you. And I think that will help, could help, diminish certain spaces of tension. So that's my little thoughts.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nick.
Yeah.
Danny Hang.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Danny Hang, West Hollywood. West Hollywood is a world-class international city. We are known all over the world for our arts, entertainment, and a safe space for queer culture. This organization is a great organization. They have graciously invited our mayor to represent our city on this trip. And if it were Mayor Meister or Mayor Heilman, I would be in full support of them going on this trip too. Either way, this brings publicity to the city. It showcases the city on an international level. So I'm in full support of Mayor Erickson going on this trip. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danny. Melissa, are there any more public commenters? Nope.
No, Mayor.
I'll open it up for discussion. Would anyone like to start? Councilmember Meister?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
So I'm not supportive of the item. I think that we approved an item at the last meeting that specifically said having people go to Paris was not for council members, but for being able to observe what Pride House does and be able to duplicate it in some way here. I remember back a few years ago, was before you were on council, when one of our council colleagues said they were invited by the office of the mayor in Paris to attend an open source data roundtable where all of the other attendees were IT experts. And we were told there was an MOU and we never saw the MOU. So, I mean, my feeling is if we're doing this for marketing purposes to market the city of West Hollywood, then the people who should be going are our visitor and marketing bureau. That's who should be going, and they pay for their own trips, so it wouldn't be on our dime, it would be on their dime. And they're the ones who have to deal with getting people to come to West Hollywood who are coming here for the Olympics. I also think that, you know, since the Olympics is in LA, if there was going to be a torch being passed, I would imagine that the mayor of LA would want to be a part of that, whether it's the mayor now or the mayor in 2020, whatever, 2028, whenever. So anyway, I'm not supportive of the item, and thank you for letting me give my comments.
No worries. Councilmember Shine, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I think that just juxtaposition with respect to LA and the difference between LA and West Hollywood, again, is that we are the LGBTQ city. So with that difference, I will say that the Pride House came to us to ask for a partnership. And I don't know if they went to LA or not, but they came to us for a reason, because we are the LGBTQ city. And we are an international city. And we actually approved a very similar trip because of a partnership to Italy with the mayor. And so I actually don't see how this is any different than that. And having a elected official who is gay representing our gay city is important. We did agree to the item as it was. However, the mayor is following the protocol that we set, and I trust that he was invited and is now bringing it up to us for discussion. And so I am in support of this item, and I think it'll be good for the mayor's presence to be there to do the handoff as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Hyman?
Thank you, Mayor. And I brought the original item here because we were approached by several groups within the community about hosting a Pride House in West Hollywood as part of not only the Olympics when they're here in Southern California, but also World Cup when it's here in Los Angeles or Southern California. obviously West Hollywood is the likely destination and likely location for a Pride House, which is separate from the Olympics, but is also part of it. I have no objection to the mayor going and representing the city, but I still stand by my previous item, which was for our city manager to put together a delegation of the key staff people, likely people working in economic development, working in events, and also our visitors bureau, because that's what we really want to celebrate. We want to celebrate West Hollywood, and we want to bring people to our community as part of that business promotion and promotion of our city. So I know that this has kind of come before the city manager has had the opportunity to put that together, but I certainly hope that if this is approved tonight, that the mayor's trip is coordinated with the other people who are attending on behalf of the city, so that we are really getting a bang for the buck.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Shine?
Yes, and I also wanted to add, given Mr. Kramer's comments as well, that if this gets approved tonight, and that either way, the delegation and the delegation with the mayor meet with our LGBTQ sports teams in the city, and either have input and be able to advocate on behalf of the teams, and definitely get the information that's needed for this trip. That would again be an even more important reason for our mayor as their advocate for the city to be there.
Thank you so much. I agree. Vice Mayor Byers.
Yeah, I didn't see that this was in contrast to the effort passed at the last meeting to assemble the delegation. That delegation is sort of an atypical formation for us as a city, so I appreciate the effort by Councilmember Heilman and think that this is a continued investment in our intention to do the important work of bringing a Pride House to the LA region and specifically West Hollywood. And I think I read the torch passing as more of a metaphorical piece of writing, just frankly speaking, and think it is sort of a handoff that you're getting to be a part of. So I appreciate your willingness to go in there and be a part of it. That's all I have to add.
Thank you so much. And Shamie, I want to thank you for your comments, and I want to follow up with you afterwards. And I think what Councilmember Shine said is really apt and appropriate. I won't add much more to this. I believe in following a transparent process. The city of LA had no one knew that they were going until I think KPCC did it, and this is the process for how we have agreed to do these things. If the city had a different process where we traveled in secret, I think that would be even more of a problem, but we don't, so we put it on an agenda and we say, come talk about it, and we're seeing that discourse right now. And I think that's actually the most beautiful part about this, is that we actually invite this type of dialogue and feedback. So frankly, I think other apps and other actions around it are just trying to be taken out of context. But most importantly, where normally in an August meeting, I would try not to go and do these things because of the city schedule. I was the first out LGBTQ athlete at my college, and I was the first out athlete to be a national champion in men's volleyball. So it also has very significance to me where I did say, okay, yes, I'll consider it, and then I send it to our appropriate people. So that's why we're here tonight, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to make a motion to approve it then. Thank you. That passes 4-1. All right, we are now going to move on to excluded consent. There is nothing on excluded consent. Public comment. This time has been set aside for public comment to address the council on any item of interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council that could not be heard under item 1 at the beginning of the meeting. City Clerk, do we have any speakers?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Wonderful. Council member comments and meeting attendance reports. Which one of my colleagues would like to go first? Councilmember Howman?
Nothing.
Nothing to report. Councilmember Meister?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'd like to make sure that my no vote on 2G is noted. On consent item consent calendar item 2I, the update on capital projects implementation. Again, I just want to say on 8305 Santa Monica Boulevard at Sweetser to consider using the office suite that we don't have plans for public safety officers. And then I just wanted to, and maybe I should have asked during our city manager's comments, but I just want to make sure that on Melrose Gathering Place, the Weaver's Walk, is that the only thing that's holding up the completion of the Melrose portion of the Design District Streetscape project? Regarding attendance, since our last meeting, I attended the Purim celebration at Colomie, the West Hollywood Women in Leadership Awards and reception. Announcements, Tuesday, April 2nd at 6 p.m. There will be a virtual Zoom neighborhood meeting regarding a proposed project at 833 Westbourne Drive. And you may want to go to the city's website calendar to get more information on that. Saturday, April 6th at 11 a.m., Picasso Pets in West Hollywood Park and Dog Park. And we will have the installation of the new pet mayor, Winnie Erickson. And then also on, and I'll remind us again at the next meeting, but Saturday, April 20th, Water-Wise Water Walk Symposium. That will start at 10 a.m. from 10 to 1 here at Council Chambers, and we have a great panel set up. So looking forward to that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. And I hope we're doing social media on that Water-Rise event.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Councilmember Shine.
Thank you. I attended a speaking engagement via Zoom that Mount St. Mary's had for International Women's Day. And I have, as far as my comments, there was I don't see it. There was a public comment that came in regarding a development that has been delayed, and it was under 3B, a development that has been delayed due to subjective pushback from staff, and I think that I'd like the city manager to reach out to Todd Elliott, who wrote that letter, because if we either need to have things in place that are objective so that developments actually happen and things move forward, so there aren't fights happening just based between staff and applicants. Apparently there was a tree, or at least please look into this to figure out what happened. He was told that there was had to be a cost for a tree, but it's not in the code. And if it's not in the code, then how are people supposed to know what to actually do or not? And it can't just be, well, it's not in the code, but we do this. We either need to have it in the code, and maybe that's what we need to do, have these in the code. And if to have all sides know exactly where they stand. I think that that's something that needs to be cleared in our code. So I just want to say that.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Shine. Vice Mayor Byers.
Thank you. I'll start with attendance. I attended the Contract Cities General Board meeting, the League of California Cities Transportation, Communication, and Public Works Committee meeting, and the Los Angeles County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency Board meeting. Just want to thank the public speakers for joining us tonight. Wish everyone a very happy Earth Month. Tonight I brought forward 2 items to address the way food waste negatively impacts our planet at a time when people are starving, famine, and widespread hunger are a fierce part of the global climate catastrophe furthered by war. We, in our privileged communities, must consider proactive, creative ways to mitigate the harmful impacts of our habits of consumption. The city has a specific goal of improving its current landfill waste diversion rate by 50% to 77% by 2035. We know food waste accounts for 17 or 18% of total landfill disposal, so these 2 items tonight will make a progress towards those goals. Thank you all for your support on those tonight.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor Byers. In terms of items on consent, I personally want to thank Eric and Ricky in the back, who gave us a lot of information, but I really want to thank Eric for his patience. Many might remember when Eric came, what was it, a year ago or so, to the council meeting about an item behind his residential place and the issues he's been having with emissions, and the work that Code's been doing, as well as everyone else, has been teamwork because of you, and then working with us at the city to try to find a way to curb those emissions to make sure you have a good quality of life, and that we're doing all that we can to make sure our neighbors have quality of life that doesn't further pollute their lungs and our atmosphere. And I want to thank you for your patience. As you know, we said one was going to be on one item, and then it was coming on this one, and I'm really looking forward to your partnership, and I want to say that's community in action, and I really want to thank the both of you. Additionally, in terms of comments, at the Lexington and Gardner aspect, we have an old blocked off area. Is Steve here? Steve is here. So at Lexington and Gardner, there is a bollard that darts out into that's the street, but there's a grate right there, which is really hard for the street cleaners to still get at. I think we're supposed to remove those bollards. If not, I want to make sure, because I talk to Celia, who lives there all the time, and I just want to make sure that we're doing all that we can to clean that street as we have in the past. So whatever we're doing to remove those or make sure it's being addressed would be appreciated. Additionally, in terms of meetings attended, I have a lot, so I apologize. I attended the Freedom on Fire screening. Thanks to all that came. The WeHo Pride Subcommittee meeting, the Drag Artist Roundtable, the Contract Cities March Board meeting, the Community Services Policy Committee meeting in Burbank. I presented a proclamation for Save Soil Day outside City Hall. I attended the first Budget Subcommittee meeting. I was an invited guest to the American Diabetes Association LA Roast. That was a fun time. The Ledge briefing for local housing champions. I also attended the Purim celebration with Vice Mayor Byers and Councilmember Meister at Colamy, and they did a Barbie-themed Purim celebration, and I'm still talking about it with Brian to this day. It was one of the best things I've ever, George was there, it was one of the best things I've ever seen. It was such a hoot. I mean, it was so wonderful to see that community. It was so great. I also presented a proclamation to the honorees of the Celebration Theater Honors Gala. I attended a reception with the Quebec Minister, Martine Biron, with Councilmember Heilman and Vice Mayor Byers. I attended the Clean Power Alliance Legislative and Regulatory Subcommittee meeting, the West Hollywood Women in Leadership Awards meeting, the LA County Local Advocacy Day with Contract Cities, the Denim Day celebration, where I was honored for my work as an individual who's been fighting against sexual assault and violence and harassment, as I myself am a victim of sexual harassment in the workplace. Then I was honored as one of the 25 champions for change. I had my coffee with the mayor of Venta Fangirl Cafe. And I just, before this meeting, presented Deborah Kallick, who is retiring from Cedars-Sinai, with our city's thanks to her and all the work that she's done for all of our residents. And then tomorrow I am going to Sacramento. Yes, I'm traveling. To talk about the work that the city has been doing on drink spike testing strips. So a year and a half ago, Josh Lowenthal passed AB 1013, which made it mandatory for restaurants to provide drink spiking test strips. And he specifically cited the work that was done here first in West Hollywood. And he's going further with AB 2402, the Roofing CDPH Public Awareness Campaign and Safe Bar Program, which would require the State Department of Public Health to establish a public education campaign to raise awareness on the risks of drink spiking and the availability of roofie test kits at certain licensed establishments. So I will be going and testifying in the Assembly Public Health Committee meeting on the work that we're doing and the results that we've seen here in the city of West Hollywood. Additionally, I sent a letter to the mayor of the city of Los Angeles regarding ongoing helicopter noise. And if anyone would like to read it, I'll make it available. We got a response back from the LA police chief, the interim police chief, Dominic Choi, who essentially said, Sorry, not sorry. But if anyone would like to read it, it's here for you because we've been getting a lot of helicopter complaints, and I wanted to make sure that we were on record with that. And
Mayor?
yes.
I apologize. We do have one individual who would like to speak under the final public comment section.
Since we're on record time, we'll say yes.
Okay, then Todd Elliott, you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, honorable members. I apologize for my tardiness. I first wanted to say that I do support the mayor going to Paris. And as they say in French, ça c'est un bon investissement in nos économies. If you like, you can ask Nadia Sutton what that means. I also did submit a letter to all of you regarding development procedures, and I just wanted to emphasize I really think it's important that we build housing, including affordable housing, and the pandemic caused great difficulties for developers, for residents, for visitors, for businesses, and that is still being felt. So I implore you to please help this developer work to finish a project that will include more housing and more affordable housing, and to do so without being punitive, because that's what's fair and reasonable. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. And right before I think you got here, Mr. Elliott, Councilmember Shine talked about your letter and I think gave some direction, but if you want to connect with David and Lauren afterwards about some of the comments you were making.
Merci bien, monsieur.
There you go. All right, seeing no other items, we are adjourned. It is 7:22. Our next meeting will be April 15th.
Because when you're in front, you get judged, and you get criticized.
The more they come, build challenge states of life.